that needs to come out.
Perfect. Hey, we're live though.
We are live. Good afternoon.
Hey, another SNL Q&A show.
Absolutely. Lane and I are excited to be here. We're mixing it up a little bit and going in the afternoon instead of the morning this time. We hope we have some people joining us, and we are looking forward to some great Q&A and interaction. Lane, let's get started.
It's the afternoon special, the lunch special, whatever you want to call it. We're happy to do it. As always, we have some questions that are already pre-populated. We have about five of them to go over today. If you're watching it live, feel free to ask a question if you have something that you want to get off your chest, or a comment, or like it, share it. Your love helps. If you're watching the recording and you're not watching it live, that's still okay. You can still ask a question. You can still share it. You can still give us love, and we'll get to the questions on the next week call.
Absolutely. Just a note on that. We know a lot of folks are enjoying these and they're listening to them at their leisure after the fact. So please feel free to put in those questions, because we do take them seriously, and they'll be on next week's show.
Absolutely. So let's get to the first question.
All right. Do you think that buyers and sellers want open houses? That is a fantastic question, and we were asked by several people about that, and Lane and I did some research, and surprisingly, I did some of my own research, although I rely on Lane's fantastic skills, as we all know. And there was a survey put out by the National Association of Realtors, and 70+% of the respondents, that were the consumers at large across the country, said they would like to see a return to open houses. They like open houses. This was sellers and buyers combined. They like the idea of open houses. They like the idea of being able to showcase a property to multiple people at a time. So conceptually, the mindset is, yes, we want to see a return to open houses. Now, let's look at the practical realities of today. We know, sellers still want maximum exposure for the properties. Buyers would love to have an open house experience that's more immersive than something virtual, which we've seen. But the third thing is, we must create maximum safety for both the buyers and the sellers. Well, the good news is we've listened to those NAR stats, and at the Sackin-Stone team, always trying to be a cutting edge and pivoting ahead of the curve. We're coming up with some exciting ideas. We're actually going to be launching some new open house strategies next week that we're really excited about. We don't know if these will take hold, but the good news is we, and even the innovators group at our company that talks every couple of weeks, are all working very hard to see how we can create a new open house experience that benefits everybody. Lane, your thoughts?
Yeah. Absolutely. So the fact of the matter is, like, when things started to first happen, virtual open houses were really popular. We weren't even allowed to be taking tours inside the homes, but it's really hard for a buyer in this marketplace to purchase a home only looking at it virtually. So obviously the buyers want to get back inside the homes, and we want to be able to get them in a home in a safe manner. Conversely, our sellers, they really don't want the looky-loos going through the house right now, and they don't want randoms coming in. So they want qualified buyers being able to tour the home. They're okay maybe if we set a time frame, a window of like 12 to 4 on a Saturday for qualified buyers to come through. But we also have to abide by all the CDC guidelines. We cannot have multiple groups in there. We still have to do the masks, the booties, the gloves. We have to sign a property entry form, the whole nine. So Scott mentioned it. We're going to be putting together guidelines to deliver an experience that hopefully both the sellers and the buyers will find mutually beneficial. So that way the buyers can still physically get inside and see the home on a normal, like, open house type of 12 to 4 routine. But at the same time, the sellers are going to know that the buyers that are going and touring their home during that time are abiding by safe practices, but also are qualified. So I think it's the best of both worlds, and I think we're going to slowly start to get some sort of open house normalcy back.
And I think in closing on that topic, we're hot on the trail of the solutions to make it work for everyone, and we will always be on site for any of the open houses that we have. Personally, Lane, myself, Philip, one of our key members, and most likely with another key member of our team to really create the consistency moving forward.
Absolutely. I think that's going to be one of our guidelines, 2 team members at every open house.
Absolutely.
We have to make sure that anybody that's coming to look at one of our listings, it's going to be a safe environment. We're going to abide by all the rules, and everybody's going to be pre-qualified too, as far as our buyers are concerned.
And the cool thing is, everybody seems to want to make things work. We're finding almost across the board, there's such a great camaraderie and wishing to comply, whether it's among our agent community, the sellers and the buyers. We all for lack of a better word, we hear it all the time. We're all in this together, and we're all in this together with the showing and the buying and the selling of houses. So we're looking forward to making it work.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to the next one.
What bang for the buck summer project should I tackle if I'm selling my house this fall? Well, as we know, this speaks to me with my Around the House with Scott series. I love researching, finding out what folks can do around the house to make the most impact, not only to enjoy their home, but if they're thinking about selling. And if you watch HGTV, you're out there at all, you probably know the majority of the tips that you hear are about the outside of the house, which is contrary to the stat that people say, oh, kitchen and bath remodels get the most bang of the buck. That's probably true if you're doing a maximum remodel, but we're talking now in the short term, what can I do if I'm selling my house this fall? So from our experience, the first thing you can do is help create the best first impression possible for when those buyers come to look at your house. So many buyers will see the home online. They're going to do a drive-by first. They want to get a feel for not only the neighborhood, but what does your house look like? So think broad strokes, mulching the front yard, adding some fresh seasonal color. We take it a step further with what we call the porch appeal edition. That's painting the front door a bright popping color that says welcome. Cleaning the mailbox, making sure the porch light works and is fresh, adding a pot of flowers or a plant right there on the front porch. So these are things that you can do. If you are thinking about doing that and you're still months away, feel free to reach out to us because we have no shortage of tips how we can help you do that again for the bang for the buck. Then moving indoors, Lane, why don't you take this one? Because we've talked about the kitchens and the baths, but we know kind of probably the one area that you would want to focus on indoors the most.
No, I mean, I think the indoor one is probably you. I'm kind of like the exterior person. I agree on the exterior. I agree with everything that you said. And anytime you read any of these articles about what's the top bang for your buck home improvement projects you can do if you're going to sell, almost all the time, top three are exterior. Number one consistently on all of them is the garage doors, believe it or not. Garage doors is the biggest bang for your buck that you can get based on a number of articles, most recently the one in the National Association of Realtors. And again, one additional point about why the exterior is so important is the number one photo that people see on a listing is usually the front of the house. So that's the photo that's going to get more views than any other photos. Scott mentioned to you already, a lot of times when the house goes on for sale originally, people do a drive-by first. So like the curb appeal, the porch appeal, the exterior, extremely, extremely important. Scott mentions kitchen and bathrooms. I'm going to throw it back to him because I know in our discussions, I don't really remember what he was talking about as far as the interior is concerned for the big bang for your buck, but I know he has it.
Of course. So again, keeping in mind everyone's yen for the open concept floor plan today, the kitchen has become the heart of the home without question. And of course, in the last few months, we see that even more. That's where the family gathers. That's where the energy is. That's where you want to put your energy if you're going to be selling the house this fall. And I'm not talking huge bucks for a giant remodel. You just want to make sure that you invest maybe in a good handyman. Make sure all your appliances work properly, that your sink faucet is anchored down, no wiggly wobbly faucets here, that it doesn't leak, that it's shiny. Maybe you do invest in a new faucet. These are little eye-popping things that you can do. And quite importantly and easy is just step back and look at your kitchen as if it were on the magazine cover. What would you see? Here's a fun little trick. I was updating my kitchen. I just took a picture of the kitchen as if it was going to be on the cover of a magazine and then looked at it as if I had never seen it before. And I saw stray cords. I saw some, kind of shabby cookbooks sitting around. It's that wallpaper syndrome where so much of what is in our lives on a daily basis becomes wallpaper. It kind of is in the background and we don't see it. So my advice is look at your kitchen through new eyes and then see what small changes you can make. It doesn't necessarily cost a lot to really pump it up. Remove countertop clutter. Maybe you invest in a new coffee machine that's fresh and clean. So those are kind of just my ideas. It's really more about the small things than thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to buy a brand new $10,000 Wolf range. You don't need to do that. Your 20-year-old Hot Point range can be just as fine from a selling perspective if it's squeaky clean. Take all your knobs off, wash them off in soap and water, things like that we just don't ordinarily perhaps think about on a regular basis. And lastly, on that note, if you take a look through your whole home with a new set of eyes, you're going to see a lot of things. And I know, again, the last few months, a lot of people have been doing that. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. It's not about a lot of money. It's just about a lot of forethought and looking at it from the buyer's perspective.
Absolutely. And staying inside and thinking about the handyman projects around the house, the one thing you don't want a buyer to think about is, oh man, this place needs a lot of work. So if sometimes the drywall, like there's a crack and it usually causes some sort of a separation and you can see a crack in the ceiling. Those are one things that you want to fix and patch up right away too, because an inexperienced buyer or maybe an inexperienced buyer's agent might feel that the foundation of the home is compromised. And it could be just very well an aesthetic, drywall crack going on there. And Scott said too, open up all the drawers, make sure everything works, smoothly, and don't have that feeling. Even if you don't have a brand new remodel and the house isn't perfectly updated as of 6 months ago, that's still okay. As long as everything functions properly, as long as everything's clean, and as long as you don't have that question of, oh man, like what's wrong with this place, I think you're going to be just fine in this marketplace.
Absolutely right. And let's remember, it's still a seller's market. The inventory is still very low and the demand is very high. So there's not a lot to choose from. And again, back to Lane's point, and we've seen this over and over, even with the comments we get from our own buyers when we're out showing property. Yes, the wow factor of expensive bells and whistles are nice, but overwhelmingly, and I'd like you to see if you agree with me on this, Lane, the good feedback we'll get from clients will be, wow, that house was clean. Wow, that house was so uncluttered. Boy, everything looks nice. It's more those kind of comments than, oh my gosh, look at that $20,000 doodad.
The best comment that I can receive, from a home that might be a little bit older and might not have new renovations is, wow, you can really tell that the owners took really good care of that home. That's a great comment to have because they feel confident when they buy the home, even if it might be a little bit older, that they're getting a home that is well cared for. There's probably minimal issues and they can make improvements down the road without having big deferred maintenance headaches early on.
I think as we close out this question, Lane, that is the absolute best piece of advice we give for our clients. So it's not so much the projects, but it's look at your house and say, you know what, if I walked out of here, would I say, man, those people take such good care of their home. That is the testament that you want people to be telling about you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, moving on. Who's been buying and selling in the last couple of months?
All right. Well, I'll confess, Lane and I do a dry run of the show ahead of time. And I know Lane has a printout that's going to tell us exactly what the makeup has been.
Well, to answer that question, we can only go off of what we know as a team. And
unfortunately, I would say as we know as a team, yes. Sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're a pretty active team and we have it's a good sample size to go off of. So what I did is I was just curious myself. I wanted to tally up who we're working with from a buying and selling standpoint. And we're just going off of what we have active, coming soon, and pending. And fortunately, we have about 20 to look over. The number one category, first-time home buyers right now. So first-time home buyers, we have 7. And that's over a third of the 20 that we're working with. So 7 first-time home buyers. We have 4 move-up buyers, meaning that they might be living in a condo and they need to sell the condo and get a bigger house with a bigger backyard. Or they might be already in a smaller house, but their family's growing, they need an even bigger house. So we have 4 move-ups. We have 2 move-downs. So we have 2 sellers that are in a bigger home and maybe they're empty nesters and they need a smaller home. So we have 2 move-downs. We have 3 investors. So somebody that's looking to buy an investment property right now and rent it out. And then we have 4 clients that are going to be moving out of state. So whether it's a job transfer, whether they're using the proceeds of their sale here for early retirement, or maybe just looking for a change. We have 4 that are moving out of state right now. So we're pretty diverse. Like I said, I'm happy to see the first-time homebuyer category where it's at, because the first-time homebuyer category is the highest it's been for us in quite some time. And I think a lot of that might have to do with the low interest rates. So a lot of first-time homebuyers are taking advantage of low interest rates. Rents are really expensive right now, and it's a good opportunity to get into the marketplace.
I think that's right on. And I think, again, to Lane's point, this question, I think, is asking, of course, everybody wants to know across the county, across the state, across the country, who's buying. We decided to share with you today kind of our little world, which we believe is a microcosm of at least what's happening in Orange County and across the state. And kind of a couple things I'd like to share again from my 33 years is we are seeing a much larger group of first-time buyers right now, which is kind of surprising in a way, but it's also really heartening. And one of the things is with a little bit less buyer activity out there, we're seeing success, and we've mentioned this on a couple of other calls. We're seeing success with the FHA buyers, with the VA buyers. We just were able to get an offer accepted this last weekend for a fantastic couple moving to Costa del Sol, which is a beautiful patio home community in South Orange County for 55 and over. And we had multiple offers, but their story resonated with the sellers, and we had a good financing package put together. Even though they were a VA, no money down, the sellers chose our clients. And I got to tell you, that is the best win that we can have, when we can see people getting a piece of the American dream, when they're used to hearing stories of 20 offers and all cash offers and getting bid up. This is still happening, but I also think right now there's a softer side to a lot of the sellers, and they're looking at who's going to be living in their home and what's the continuing story of that home. And I think when we look at that, it's very refreshing. I know that digresses a bit from the initial question, but to me, that's just what I'm seeing. It's so exciting about the first-time buyer situation.
No, I think you're right on. I think for the first time in a while, people are realizing qualified is qualified. No matter if you're an FHA buyer putting 3.5% down or conventional buyer putting 20% down, if you're able to qualify for that home, you're able to qualify for that home. So if all things are equal, you put together a really good story. The prices are equal. It's all about who the agent is representing you, and maybe they're displaying a little bit more about the buyers to tug on those heartstrings a little bit. And in your situation in the South Orange County place, to get that offer accepted, it doesn't matter what your down is or anything like that. Everybody qualified is qualified. So, and
I think, you know what, and again, I think this topic bears a couple more minutes too. Another thing that we're seeing is I personally have 2 clients right now that have been landlords. And they're kind of saying, you know what, we're done with the tenants and toilets thing. And they're what we call reluctant landlords. They were never people that necessarily invested into the marketplace. They inherited homes. They had a home that they kept when they bought something else and thought, oh, maybe this is a good thing to hold on to this. But they're seeing now still the benefits of record appreciation since 2008. And thinking of other uses that they can have for that money, and willing to pay the capital gains taxes. And of course, we can help advise them and put them in the right sources to understand exactly what those numbers are look like. But they're understanding, and again, they were surprised to know the demand is still very high, as we've talked about. The demand is higher than the supply right now. So for those of you that may be, as I say, reluctant landlords or even intentional landlords, and would like to maybe not be a landlord anymore and have another use for those funds, now is a great time to consider getting rid of that investment/rental property.
Absolutely. That's great points. Great points. So let's move on to the next question.
Okay.
What, if any, are the trends of where sellers are moving based on events of the last few months?
Well, we're seeing a lot of trend. I would say, I don't want to say if we are trendsetters, we could say a trend has been started yet. But as we listen to the stories of our clients, a couple things are happening. One of them is rethinking of the space around the house. We've talked about that in previous SNL shows with people working from home. They're wanting to make sure that if they're thinking about moving, that the next home gives plenty of options. If one or two of the I don't say parents or the adults or members are going to be working from home, they want to see there's a flexible indoor-outdoor situation. So there's room to roam, so to speak. So if we're going to be home for an extended period of time, we've got options of how we can, expand our lifestyle to indoor-outdoor and take advantage of this beautiful Southern California climate that we're so fortunate to work and live in here.
Yep, absolutely. And if we're talking from a locational standpoint, and we're looking at our sample size, 80% of our clients that we're working with right now are actually staying in Southern California. 20% are moving out of state. The areas that the clients that are moving out of state to, and the areas that we've seen clients moving to in the past, some areas that are really popular right now as far as out of state locations are Boise, Idaho, Washington State, North Carolina. We're hearing a little bit in Nashville, Tennessee, and some areas of Texas as well. So those are the areas that we were seeing in the last couple of years as far as our out of state and out of area clients are moving to. But bottom line, the majority, 80% of our clients are still staying here in Southern California. So from a location standpoint, as far as trends are concerned, we're definitely having a lot of our clients stay.
I think so. And on that note, Lane, too, again, we work with a lot of baby boomers. They're retirees. As we mentioned on a previous question, they've been thinking about this for many years, and not so much as an exodus as to where do they see the next chapter of their life unfolding. And most people want something a little quieter, a little less hectic than Southern California. And in addition to some of the places Lane has mentioned, we see a lot of people staying within California and just moving up into central and northern, the North California, well above the Golden Gate. But again, where things are a little bit quieter, and even just across the border to the east and the northeast, and us a little bit into parts of Nevada, Arizona, Prescott, Flagstaff, places like that are very, very popular. And this is, I'm talking kind of for the retiree group, which is a significant amount of our client base. And again, another plug, we've got significant and great agent relationships in all those areas. So if anyone listening is thinking about some of those areas and want to dip their toe in the water, make sure you call us first, and we'll put you in touch with someone good that can help you with that.
Well, let's check out the next question.
You got it.
I'm planning to move to a different state or location. Can you still help me?
Well, I said we do a dry run. Obviously, I forgot our practice run today because we know we can do that. So Lane, go ahead and carry on with that.
Absolutely, we can still help you, and we love to do so. And when you work with Scott and I, hopefully a lot of the people that are watching this have had the opportunity to do so, and hopefully you found that we're hard workers. We are trustworthy. We get the job done, and we do it in a great innovative way. And hopefully, when you're moving out of state, or if you're moving out of state, you want the same. And fortunately, we network with the top 1% of the agents across the country. So what we do for our clients that are moving out of the area, we interview a bunch of agents on their behalf to find the absolute best one, maybe most similar to our skill sets and the way that we operate. So that way the transition and who you work with seems very flawless and smooth. So we take on the interviewing process for you to make sure that you're working with somebody who knows the area really well, works almost identically on how Scott and I work, and that you'll just be absolutely well taken care of. And not only that, they're also top 1% agents, just like the Sackin-Stone team.
Absolutely. And I do want to make sure we give a shout out to the other two sales agents on our team, Philip Talbert and Gary Elvidge, especially Philip, who's been around as long as I have. So many of you watching this show have probably experienced working with him too, and know he has the patience of Job, as one of our friends at church who quotes the Bible tells us. But all of us have the same ethics, the same work ethic. We pride ourselves on our creativity and our diligence, and that's what puts into play when we do refer you out of state. And I got to tell you a couple great things. We have a client in Indiana right now. He moved out of state 25 years ago. He's called me to help place his kids in homes, both out of state, and to refer him an agent in Barcelona, Spain, to buy a condo for he and his wife to vacation to. That warms our hearts when someone thinks that much of us after they've physically left our area, that they still consider us our resource. So that's my brag or my story with regards to that, because we care and we love it. And there's nothing better when a past client calls and says, "Hey, can you help me?"
Well, being in the industry ourselves, we know exactly what questions to ask. We know exactly what to look for. The interviewing process can be really long. We can shorten that up. And then also calling somebody and rejecting them, saying, "Hey, we're not going to be working with you. We decided to go with somebody else." That's a tough conversation to make. So let us put in the work. Let us ask the right questions. Let us make the rejections if we need to, and let us make the call of saying, "Congratulations, you're the one that gets to help our wonderful clients."
Absolutely, we're willing to take all that on for you, just because we care.
Hey, well, guess what, Scott? We got another Q&A live SNL show in the books on a beautiful Friday. So thank you so much for everybody that tuned in live and who's watching this on the recording. As always, if you heard something that you like and you want to share, sharing the button would be awesome. Commenting, liking, it all helps, and we all love you.
And if you hear something or there's something that you may disagree with, we love conversation. We love debate. Let's talk. That's what it's all about, is talking and open communication so we can best serve you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you like the 1 o'clock time frame, let us know too, because we like doing it in the mornings. We wanted to see and maybe get some people in the afternoon this time that might not get to have the opportunity to watch us in the morning. So pretty soon we're going to come up with a consistent time frame, but right now we're just playing around between afternoon and morning. So let us know too which ones you like, and we'll continue to do that next week. And
remember, if you're watching this on the recording and you've got questions that pop up, we're ready to answer them next time.
Until next time.
Thanks for watching SNL.